There are moments in life when the noise becomes unbearable. Not the noise outside of you, but the noise within. Questions collide with fear. Hope wrestles with exhaustion. And your heart quietly wonders. How much longer? You've prayed. You've waited. You've believed when it didn't make sense to believe. And still, nothing seems to move. The silence grows heavy. The nights feel longer. And faith begins to feel like work. But hear this clearly. Silence is not absence. Delay is not denial. There are seasons when God does his deepest work, without making a sound. You weren't ignored. You were being positioned. You weren't forgotten. You were being prepared. Because there are things God will not release into a rushed heart. There are blessings that require weight to carry them. And weight is built in the waiting. You see, when life presses in, it exposes what we trust most. When answers don't come quickly, it reveals what we're anchored to. Some people quit here. Some people grow bitter here. Some people walk away quietly, convincing themselves it was never meant for them. But you stayed, even when your prayers felt like echoes, even when tears replaced words, even when belief felt fragile. You stayed, and that matters more than you know, because faith isn't proven in the miracle. It's proven in the in-between. Trust isn't loud. Trust doesn't demand explanations. Trust stands still when everything screams to run. And that kind of trust moves heaven. There are things happening right now that you cannot see. Connections being aligned. Resistance being removed. Paths being cleared that you haven't even imagined yet. God is not reacting to your situation. He is orchestrating it. He sees the full picture, while you only see the frame you're standing in. Your understanding has limits. Your vision has edges, but his does not. And when you choose to trust him beyond your understanding, you give him room to move beyond your expectations. That's why faith feels uncomfortable. It asks you to walk without confirmation, to move without guarantees, to obey without applause. But obedience has always been the doorway to breakthrough. Look back for a moment. There were times you didn't think you'd survive. Moments when the weight almost crushed you. Seasons when quitting felt reasonable. Yet somehow, you're still here. Not because you were strong, but because God was faithful. He didn't just bring you through. He kept you. And that keeping wasn't accidental. You're still breathing because your assignment isn't finished. You're still standing because your chapter isn't closed. What you thought was delay was actually development. What you saw as isolation was actually protection. God had to separate you before he elevated you. Some people couldn't go where you're going. Some voices would have polluted the clarity you now carry. Some attachments had to be released, so your hands would be free. Free to receive, free to lead, free to carry what's coming next. Because what's coming is not small. It's not casual. It's not ordinary. It requires maturity. It requires restraint. It requires a heart that won't collapse under pressure. That's why the fire came first. That's why the pruning hurt. That's why the waiting stretched you. Gold is never shaped gently, and neither are callings. You've learned how to trust without seeing, how to worship without answers, how to keep moving without applause. That's not weakness. That's authority. Authority doesn't need validation. It doesn't explain itself. It moves with quiet confidence. And now, the atmosphere around you is changing. The heaviness is lifting. The confusion is fading. The constant resistance is losing its grip. Not because life got easier, but because you changed. You don't react the way you used to. You don't panic the way you used to. You don't fear the unknown the way you used to. That's growth. That's transformation. That's proof that the waiting worked. There are doors about to open that don't respond to effort. They respond to alignment. And you're aligned now. Not perfect, not flawless, but surrendered. God isn't looking for polished people. He's looking for yielded hearts. He's drawn to those who say, "Even when I don't understand, I trust you." That kind of trust shifts environments. It breaks cycles. It releases favor that can't be explained. And when it comes, it won't look how you imagined. You expected one thing. God prepared something better. You asked for relief. He built resilience. You prayed for escape. He forged strength. Because sometimes the miracle isn't the door opening. It's who you became while it stayed closed. You didn't just survive the storm. You learned how to stand in it. And now, you're ready. Ready for responsibility. Ready for stewardship. Ready for influence without ego. Ready to walk into rooms you once prayed from outside. But hear this carefully. What's next will require discretion. Not everyone needs to know what God is doing. Not every move needs to be announced. Not every blessing needs to be explained. Some things grow best in silence. Let the fruit speak. Let the change be visible. Let the testimony unfold naturally. Because when God moves suddenly, He does it quietly at first. A conversation, an opportunity, a shift that feels subtle until it isn't. And one day you'll look back and realize, that was the moment. That was the turn. That was the release. The world will call it timing, luck, chance. But you'll know better. This was obedience meeting destiny. You didn't arrive here by accident. You walked here through discipline, through trust, through surrender. You didn't chase this season. You were prepared for it. So don't rush ahead. Don't hesitate now. Don't second guess what God has confirmed in your spirit. Walk forward with humility. Move with clarity. Stay anchored in trust, because heaven is backing this step. And now, you're not waiting anymore. You're entering alignment, entering purpose, entering a season where doors open without force, and favor flows without striving. This doesn't mean life will be effortless. It means it will be intentional. You'll face challenges, but not confusion. You'll encounter resistance, but not fear. You'll walk through unknown territory, but not alone. Because the same God who carried you through the wilderness is now leading you into promise. Your story isn't ending. It's turning. And this next chapter will read differently. Not louder, but deeper. Not rushed, but grounded. Not chaotic, but purposeful. And one day, someone will look at your life and realize, this wasn't luck. This wasn't coincidence. This was trust, refined by fire, sealed by obedience, and released in perfect timing. And now, you're ready.